Okay, and we are live. Welcome to the Estádio do Dragão. I'm James and Dennis from HaytersTV, and I'm joined by Goal.com. Still Goal.com?
Yeah, for today.
For today. Goal.com's Charles Watts. Charles, thanks for joining me here. Welcome to Portugal.
Thank you. Nice setting, isn't it?
It is.
Nice.
It's beautiful. Lovely setting. Brilliant stadium, by the way. Really, really nice. So we're here. It's Arsenal's first leg, round of 16 tie against FC Porto. And after yesterday's pre-match press conference with Gabriel and Mikel Arteta, how do you assess Arsenal's chances for today?
Really good. I mean, they should come in really, really confident. 5 games so far this year, 21 goals scored, 5 wins. Can't really come in any better mood than they are. And I think you got the impression with that yesterday with Mikel, with Gabriel as well. They're not going to take Porto lightly. Porto are a very experienced European team, but you know, on paper, the way Arsenal are playing, they shouldn't struggle too much here. I'll probably put a kiss of death on it, and they will now, but they shouldn't, you know, they're over the 2 legs, they should be too strong for Porto. And I'm expecting a difficult game tonight, no doubt about it. It's going to be electric in here, you can tell already. And Arsenal are going to have to deal with that. They've been a long time since they've been in this competition at this stage, so they're going to have to deal with that as well. Very inexperienced, but I think they'll get the job done.
You know, Arsenal have had some pretty fiery away fixtures this season in the Champions League. They've had RC Lens, they've had Sevilla, and they've had PSV Eindhoven, all unique, hostile atmospheres in their own way. Besides Lens and PSV, they have kind of come out trumps in this away games. They've topped the group, and now I don't know what the hell they did in Dubai, but they've come back firing, back to the free scoring Arsenal that we saw probably most of last season. So what the hell has gone on at Arsenal in the last 3 or 4 weeks?
I don't know, they need to go to Dubai more often, don't they? They've scored more goals now this season at this stage than they had last season, which is remarkable really when you consider how things started for the first half. And you talk about the atmospheres, and the atmosphere is going to be very hostile in here, but that's not going to bother these players. They're used to it, like you said. They've had it in the group stages, they had it in the Europa League as well, to be fair, and they all go away, they play their international games, so it's not going to be anything that's going to scare them here tonight. And in fact, I think they're going to probably thrive on it. I don't know about you, but listening to Gabriel yesterday at the press conference, you just got the impression that these players, you know, they've waited a long time to play on this stage for Arsenal. Arsenal have waited a long time to be back on this stage, and they want to take the opportunity. They want to grasp it tonight, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they go out there and send a good message out to the rest of Europe today that they mean business in this competition.
I think they've been sending a message throughout the whole of Premier League the last couple of weeks, with the amount of goals they've scored and the fact they've only conceded 2. The defence seems to have tightened up a bit more.
Yeah.
We're back to that free-flowing kind of football that we were used to. But I think they sent a message in the group stage as well. I think coming out on top in your first Champions League group stage game or season in 7 years is very impressive. And like Mikel Arteta said yesterday, remember they played, back in those days they played teams like Messi against Barcelona, Messi, Bayern Munich. Less said about those games the better, but they have that inexperience which seems to be working in their favour. They're fearless, this Arsenal group, and Gabriel said can compete in any competition. So having that fearlessness might give them the upper hand, regardless of having the experience like the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas and Bayern Munichs. But the inexperience that they have is the relentlessness and the no fear capacity that this young group of players can have.
Yeah, it can work in their benefit, no doubt about it. And like I said, they won't be scared of what they're facing here tonight. And you know, so far this season, or so far the last 2 seasons, really, pretty much every test that they've faced, they've passed. And they're showing more about them this season. I really like the look of this team now this season. Like you said, they're scoring goals again, which is a good thing. But I look at how hard they are to play against, how hard they are to create chances against, let alone score against. And that just bodes really well for the Champions League. But who knows what happens in the Premier League between now and the end of the season. But I really feel in this competition, this season, Arsenal got a hell of a chance of winning it because of how difficult they are to play against. There's no one better in Europe right now when it comes to keeping teams out and stopping them having decent chances. All the talks about the goals they're scoring, and that's right, but what they're doing at the other end is equally impressive, and for a competition like this I think it's probably even more important. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how they're going to get on today, but I think they're going to do well. And
to say how well Arsenal are doing without players like Gabriel Jesus, Alexander Zinchenko and Thomas Partey, Jurriën Timber as well, just especially with those calibre of players, you expect that would come in and improve Arsenal.
Yeah.
The way they've gone about things, Jakub Kiwior stepped up, the way Ben White drops into midfield now, they seem to have swapped that inverted role from left to right, and it's worked wonders for Arsenal so far. And Declan Rice has come into for a Martin Odegaard, going back to what he was like last season, back to his brilliant best. especially and by Bukayo Saka. Only Mohamed Salah has scored 40 plus goals and assisted 30 plus goals in the Premier League. It's the Premier League, all comps since I think 21-22, along with Bukayo Saka. It's just a testament to how Mikel Arteta is getting the best out of this young squad.
Yeah, well, I think with Saka, I mean, he just writes his own scripts now, doesn't he? I think we all take it for granted just how good he is, and when you look at those numbers and how they compare to the top players at his age, because we forget he's still 22 years old. You talk about Mohamed Salah. You know, he's at the peak of his powers, Mohamed Salah, at the end of his career, at the top of his career, rather than at his peak. Saka's 22, he's still a kid. You know, it's his first season in the Champions League, and the way he took to it in the group stages. You know, and that's what Saka does, whatever level he plays at. And I know all this debate's going on at the moment, is he world class, is he not, which I think is rubbish, to be fair, because I think there's no debate, he is world class. And when you look at what he does at any competition, whether it be Europa League last season, Champions League this season, the Premier League, the international stage of England, the World Cup, the European Championships, he takes to it like a duck to water. So he finds it so easy, and that is a definition of world class to me. And you know, the form he's in right now since the turn of the year, like all of them, having come out to Dubai. You know, if Arsenal can manage that and keep them at this level between now and the end, and that's going to be key, because last season they peaked too early. Let's face it, they ran out of steam, didn't they? This season, it looks like, fingers crossed, they're peaking at the right time. They've managed the season well, and now they're hitting their stride, like Manchester City do year after year after year. If they can continue that, and it's a big if, but if they can continue that, then you know the world is their oyster come the end of the season.
I couldn't agree more about they peaked too early last season. It seemed they took quite a cautious approach at the start of this season. They weren't playing as pragmatic as they were. So now they're really hitting their stride, and since coming back from Dubai, they look, well, especially having lost to Liverpool a few weeks ago before Dubai in the FA Cup, they went and absolutely battered it. Like, it didn't look like a fair competition. So to put that into perspective, I think the way Arsenal were going about it, you put your money on them going far in this competition and probably disrupting the flow that Liverpool, Man City seem to have in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, they've got nothing to fear in this competition. It's going to be really hard. If they're going to go on and win it, they're going to need some luck along the way. They're going to need a good draw. They're going to need big decisions to go their way at certain points, like any team does. But there's no one to fear. I mean, they've played City twice this season, and they've beaten them both times, if you include the penalty shootout win in the Community Shield. You know, they've played Liverpool twice in the league, taken 4 points off them. So, you know, the bookies have them third favourites behind Man City and Real Madrid. And, I mean, you're not going to argue with that. You think that is exactly where they are. So they do have a chance of winning it. But what happened at the end of last season hurt Mikel Arteta. It really hurt him, and he went away and he tried to work out how do I stop that happening this time around. And you talk about a more pragmatic approach this season, and I think that's right. And the addition of Declan Rice, it just made them stronger. Kai Havertz as well, is taking him a bit of time to settle in, and when you put that all together, that's perhaps why they've started the season slightly more cautiously. They're getting used to each other. The new players are bedding in. They lost Yuri and Timber, which was a real blow at the start of the season. They had to adjust to that and adapt to that. Mikel Arteta's plans went out the window basically with that. But they stayed in the race, and they're there now, and that is absolutely crucial. And so, yeah, Premier League, Champions League, they've got a chance. You can't say for now they're going to go on and win either of them, but they've got a chance, and that's what you want at this stage of the season.
Completely agree with you with the fact that with the injuries and the bedding in new players like Rice and Havertz, the fact that they stayed in such a attractive or competitive position up until now, when everything's starting to click and everything's getting into full gear, it's amazing how well this Arsenal side have grown and grown and grown, and the fact that everyone's now got the bit like you say bookies' favourites, and now everyone's thinking, well, what's stopping Arsenal from winning the Premier League? What's stopping Arsenal from going far, if not winning the Champions League? And it's like with Mikel Arteta saying it's the pinnacle. It's one of the pinnacles to win the Champions League. Couldn't agree more.
Well, it is. I mean, the clubs have never won the Champions League, have they? And that's for a club of Arsenal's size and stature. Their record in the Champions League is just not good enough. One final during that run, 20-year run of it being in it every single season. But what Mikel said yesterday shocked me, and when he said that they haven't been past this stage of the competition for 14 years since they beat Porto back in 2010. That's just not good enough for Arsenal, and that's something they need to resolve. They need to make sure they're back in this competition year after year after year. You're not going to win it year after year, but you want to make sure you are back competing amongst the best in Europe. And I think Arteta, when he arrived, that was his aim. He's done it, he's got them here, and now it's about keeping them here. And when you look at the squad that they've built, the players they've got, and how carefully they've managed the squad, you don't really see them falling off. You continue to see them getting stronger year by year, and that's a real positive thing for Arsenal. And they want to be out there competing on this stage. They've waited a long time for it, and they've seized their opportunity so far, and let's wait and see what happens in the knockouts.
There's been a few negative things this season, mainly the injuries towards Partey and Jesus. Partey's back in training, wasn't ready for this game. Big boost for Arsenal to come back, but also another positive, David Raya, just how he's come up leaps and bounds since the precarious switch from Aaron Ramsdale to him, and how he's just become probably one of Arsenal's most important players.
I mean, it helps that he's not having any shots to save. I think for a goalkeeper that's the key thing. But he's looking very calm now. He looks like he's part of this team. He believes he's part of this team. Maybe that wasn't the case in the first few months, which is understandable because there was so much spotlight on him after that move. It was such a controversial move in a lot of ways because Aaron Ramsdale, let's face it, hadn't done much wrong. Was really popular both with the players and with the fans. And it was a move that caught everyone by surprise, bringing him in right on the eve of the new season. So there was a lot of spotlight on him. And I think it's hard for a goalkeeper or any player to come in and perform at their best under those circumstances. But it just looks now like he's adjusted more and he looks more confident. You see the way he's coming and claiming crosses. You see how quickly he's getting rid of the ball when he gets it. And that's a sign of a goalkeeper in form and full of confidence. And yeah, I've liked what I've seen. But again, it helps when he's not having many shots to save, isn't it? And I think when you look at Arsenal's defensive record, Raya certainly deserves credit. But you look at the two players in front of him, the two centre-backs, you look at Declan Rice ahead of them. It's a formidable force ahead of a goalkeeper like David Raya. He must look at them and be so thankful he's got players like that ahead of him.
I know you're wanting to jet off and get your reaction to the lineups. Last thing from me, just score prediction.
I'm so superstitious. I don't like doing score predictions. But all I'm going to say is I'm usually very pessimistic when it comes to Arsenal's chances. It's just in my nature, I think. But I am actually feeling pretty confident about this and the whole competition as a whole. Which is probably going to put a kiss of death on it. But I think they'll win tonight. I think they'll go through fairly comfortably over the two legs. I don't know what the score will be, but I think they'll win tonight. I think they'll get the job done. Well,
thanks a lot, Charles. Thanks for joining us on HaytersTV. Make sure to check out all the post-match reaction live on our social, on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook and TikTok now. Thanks a lot, Charles. I'll let you get off, and thanks for joining us on HaytersTV, guys.